Somebody in Silo 18 has taken 48 years worth of light bulbs off the books. Critical Supply is built to hold half a century of reserve, and right now there are about 2 years left on the shelf. Everything else is gone, moved out at night on sleds along with barrels of vitamin D plus and a stack of computers. In a silo where nobody is short on light and nobody could sell a stolen bulb to another living soul without getting caught in about 5 minutes. That only leaves one explanation. Somebody down there is lighting up a space that has never had a bulb in it. A space big enough to eat half a century of stock and still ask for more. And the one person who worked out how those goods were actually moving through the silo was dead within days of saying so out loud. I think the destination is obvious once you line the pieces up, and I think the number of people covering for it is a lot bigger than the show has led on so far. None of this needs speculation dressed up as fact. Almost every piece I'm about to walk through is already on screen, confirmed, sitting there in plain sight. What's missing is somebody putting it together in one place. Start with the bulbs themselves, because the motive question answers itself once you think about who actually wants that many. Bulbs are heavy, they're fragile, and in a silo that already has plenty of light, they're worth nothing to almost anyone. There is exactly one kind of person who needs 48 years of bulbs, and that's someone lighting a space that's never had power run to it before. And there is exactly one project in this world that fits that description. Camille Sims has already said it out loud herself. Lukas Kyle vanished during the rebellion, and Silo 18's official position is that he's a casualty nobody ever found. Camille doesn't buy it, and by season 3 she's working through the same case anyone paying close attention would build. Lukas was Bernard's shadow. He decoded Salvador Quinn's hidden message off that ancient hard drive, which is how he first learned this silo isn't alone, that there are 50 others sitting out there. When he brought that number to Bernard, Bernard corrected him to 51 and never explained where the extra one came from. Lukas followed Quinn's instructions to the bottom of the silo, jumped into water with no idea how deep it was, and found the tunnel exactly where Quinn said it would be. Down there, he met the algorithm face to face, something almost nobody in this world has ever done, and it told him plainly that talking about what he'd seen would trigger the safeguard. He knows what that machine is, what it does, and that it's pointed at him personally the moment he opens his mouth. Bernard, for comparison, didn't even know the safeguard existed until Lukas told him about it. Camille pushes the logic one step further and lands exactly where this theory does. She asks the algorithm how close the nearest silo actually is. It won't answer that directly, but it tells her something more useful anyway. That any contact between two silos triggers an immediate safeguard. That's her confirmation that a horizontal dig is the one thing capable of getting everyone in Silo 18 killed the moment it succeeds. Her response is to gas the mines under a fake rat extermination, with children still down there and no warning given to anyone. So the show has already put this theory in a character's mouth. Where Camille's version falls apart is the assumption that Lukas is doing all of this alone. Digging horizontally through rock for 3 months, staying fed, disposing of the spoil, and hiding from a silo-wide manhunt the entire time isn't a one-man job. And the gas attack itself proves it. When Camille flooded those mines, Lukas walked out of the smoke wearing a gas mask, carried an unconscious Juliet to safety, and disappeared again before anyone could grab him. Somebody either handed him that mask, or he had access to equipment he shouldn't have had. And either way, he knew to have it on him at the exact moment an unannounced fumigation started. That's not luck, that's a warning. Lukas isn't a stranger to the lower levels either. Before Bernard ever pulled him out to be his shadow, Lukas had been sentenced to the mines, and that history matters more than it looks. The mines are where Silo 18 sends people to be forgotten, which means the workers down there have every reason to distrust anyone up top, and every reason to protect one of their own who came back to them. When Sims is asked why Bernard pulled Lukas out of the mines in the first place, his answer is that he doesn't know. A man with real relationships in the one part of the silo nobody upstairs wants to visit is a man with somewhere to hide and people willing to hide him. And the mines aren't even the only group covering for him. After pulling Juliet clear of the gas, Lukas slips away into the hands of the outsiders, the faction running its own operation deep below any official structure. Season 3 keeps confirming this the further it goes. By episode 5, Kennedy himself, the man leading that faction, is moving with Lukas toward the down deep, and Robert Sims intercepts the pair of them on the way. Two separate populations in the lower silo know exactly where Lukas is, and neither one has given him up. There's a detail from the gassing that fits this a little too well. When Juliet handed her own mask to a struggling child, that child beat her down and took it, leaving her to choke on the gas. On first watch, that plays as pure panic. It reads differently if some of the people in those tunnels had a reason to keep the new mayor from getting any deeper into them. Which gets to the part of this theory I think is strongest. The question of why Silo 17 specifically. Digging blind in a random direction is a death sentence, but Lukas has information nobody else in Silo 18 has, because he watched the footage of Juliet walking out over the hill and into Silo 17. Anyone who timed that walk against a normal walking speed could work out roughly how far it was and roughly which direction. Add the schematics Lukas had access to as Bernard's shadow, and a horizontal dig stops being a guess and turns into an engineering problem with an actual target. Here's what makes the target choice genuinely clever, and it comes straight from something Lukas could work out just from the fact that Juliet survived. The algorithm has already said that silo-to-silo contact sets off an immediate safeguard. Juliet crossed from Silo 18 to Silo 17 and back again. The most literal silo-to-silo contact possible, and nothing happened. Whatever should have gone off between those two populations never triggered. The simplest explanation is that Silo 17's safeguard was already spent, already used up on the population that used to live there, because that silo is a corpse. Reaching a dead silo means reaching the one place on the map that can't retaliate and can't set anything off. It's the only spot a tunnel could actually land without killing everyone on both ends. Now, the supply chain, and this is where the confirmed material carries almost the entire argument by itself. Glenda Harwood was shadow to Carla McLean, the head of supply, which put her hands directly on everything moving in and out of critical supply. Glenda is also the daughter of Ed Harwood, head of the mines, which means one family sits at both the entrance to the tunnels and the keys to the warehouse. Orla Kent took the shadow position away from Glenda, and Glenda resented her openly for it. Orla then opened her own investigation into exactly how Glenda had been moving good. While touring the reconstruction work at the Gap, Orla noticed something that gave her new ideas about that movement. She tried to report it straight to Juliet at a reception and got pulled away before she could finish. She told her boyfriend Mike Davidson that standing at the Gap had given her an idea, and that she'd tell him what it was once she confirmed it. She never made it home that night. Her sister filed a missing person report the next day. Her body turned up in a sealed tunnel during the mine fumigation, and the coroner found she'd already been dead for days, killed by blunt trauma to the back of the head, then hidden there so the gas would take the blame. By episode 4, Sheriff Billings confirms exactly that. She wasn't a fumigation casualty. She was struck with a length of rebar days before the gas ever went off, and someone planted her body afterward hoping it would read as an accident. That timeline is the most damning single thread in this whole case. Orla figured out the route, said so to one person, and was dead before she could tell anyone who could actually act on it. What she'd spotted deserves its own attention, because the location is the whole point. She wasn't buried in paperwork when it clicked for her. She was standing at the reconstruction site itself. The stairwell Knox and Shirley have been rebuilding since the rebellion, and something about that project gave her the answer. A reconstruction site is the one place in a silo where enormous amounts of material move constantly, where crews come and go at all hours, and where nobody blinks at sleds hauling heavy loads through half-finished stairwells. If you needed to move a warehouse's worth of goods without anyone noticing, hiding it inside a legitimate construction effort is close to the perfect cover, and Orla appears to be the only person who looked at that site and understood what it was really being used for. Mike Davidson keeps coming back into focus for a reason. He was Glenda's boyfriend before he was Orla's, which makes him the man who has now dated 2 consecutive shadows to the head of supply. That's either an enormous coincidence or a pattern, and in a silo where supply controls every physical resource in existence, being close to whoever holds that job is an extremely useful place to stand. His reaction to Orla going missing doesn't help him. His girlfriend has been gone for 2 days, and his main concern, according to episode 4, is whether his dog is getting enough exercise. He's also the last person confirmed to know she was heading to the reconstruction site that night. Then Carla McLean, the actual head of supply, goes missing too. Billings shows up expecting to meet her and instead finds Glenda. already sitting in Orla's old office, having reclaimed the shadow role on the grounds that nobody else was around to do it. Two people who held real authority over critical supply are gone within days of each other, and the person who benefits from both absences is the daughter of the head of the mines. The Digger Void ties the last knot, and it's gotten a lot more interesting since the earlier episodes of this season. It's the chamber beneath Silo 18 that holds the wreck of the machine that dug this place out in the first place. A machine stripped of every useful part by year 143. Martha Walker sealed it publicly a few months after the rebellion, claiming it was to stop young people from wandering in and needing rescue. Except it turns out she didn't seal it properly, and by episode 5 we know exactly why. Robert Sims was ordered to kill Bernard after the airlock fire, found him badly burned but alive, and instead of finishing the job, faked his death and had him hidden in the void with Martha and Carla's help. Martha nursed him back to health down there, and Bernard taught her how to retune the radio so she could listen in on chatter from other silos. That's an entire hidden operation running underneath Silo 18 for months, run by the deputy of Judicial himself, protecting the very man Camille and the algorithm both believe is dead. Which means the lower levels of this silo are now confirmed to be hiding at least 2 separate operations at once. Bernard alive in the void, protected by Sims, Martha, and Carla. Lukas somewhere in or near the mines, protected by miners and then the outsiders. As far as the show has shown us, neither group knows about the other. And Camille, who has the algorithm feeding her intelligence directly, has missed both of them completely. The bottom of this silo has quietly become a blind spot even for the people who are supposed to see everything, which is exactly the condition either project would need to survive this long undetected. The stolen vitamin D plus is the piece I won't force a clean answer onto, because forcing one would be dishonest. Barrels of memory suppressant don't have an obvious use inside a tunnel. 2 readings hold up. The first is that stealing D+ is the point on its own, since every barrel pulled out of circulation is a barrel that never makes it into the water supply feeding 10,000 people, which would make this as much a resistance effort as an engineering one. The second is darker, that whoever's digging expects to need it eventually, either for people they meet on the other end or for their own afterward. Neither one is confirmed, and I'd rather flag that than pretend it's settled. The computers are easier to explain. Digging accurately toward a fixed point across that kind of distance takes real calculation, and nobody gets there with a pickaxe and hope. I want to give the strongest counter-argument its due, because it is a real one. Camille's theory about Lukas has never been confirmed inside the show itself, and Lukas surfacing to save Juliet proves he's alive somewhere in the mines without proving what he's actually doing down there. The supply theft could just be ordinary corruption, one family enriching itself through a department it controls, with Orla killed for the plain reason that she caught them stealing. That version doesn't need a tunnel at all, and it explains the murder just as cleanly. Where that reading struggles is the light bulbs. Ordinary corruption steals things you can sell or use, and 48 years of bulbs in a silo with no light shortage is neither. It's a quantity that only makes sense if somewhere new needs lighting, permanently, and the only somewhere new anyone in this story is capable of building is underground and horizontal. There's one more piece that makes the whole picture land harder. Knox works out that the names etched into the tunnel walls aren't founders at all. They're mechanical workers who died in past rebellions, which means the uprising he grew up hearing about was only the most recent of several, each one blamed on mechanical regardless of who actually started it. The people at the bottom of this silo have generations of proof that the system above them lies about who caused what and lets them absorb the cost every time. If anyone in Silo 18 has a reason to help a fugitive dig his way out from under that system, it's the miners. And if anyone has a reason to keep it quiet, it's them too. The theft is confirmed. The items are confirmed. The sleds and the night movements are confirmed. Orla's investigation and her murder are confirmed. The Harwood family sitting across both supply and the mines is confirmed. Carla's disappearance is confirmed. Bernard alive in the void is confirmed. Camille has already said the tunnel theory out loud on screen. What's still inference is the connection between all of it, that the missing supplies are feeding a dig, and that the people protecting it run from the mines all the way up into supply itself. If that connection holds, then the most dangerous thing happening in Silo 18 right now isn't Camille hunting Juliet, and it isn't even the algorithm. It's a hole in the ground getting longer every single night, funded by a 50-year reserve of light bulbs aimed at a dead silo, carrying with it the one act the algorithm has stated plainly it exists to prevent, an event that would end 10,000 lives. Whoever is digging that tunnel is running out of stock, running out of time, and by the sound of it, getting close to finished.